Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We have a battle on our hands. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. We also have the sale on the premium list. If you want to know how I'm navigating these markets, you can find a link to that in the description below as well. Let's go ahead and jump in. So this battle we knew was coming, right? We always said, at the very least, we will eventually get a relief rally. It's only a matter of when. And when it comes, it'll likely take us to the bull market support band, and that's the real battle, right? Below that, who cares? This is the real battle. And we have approached it. We're above the 21-week EMA. We closed last week above the 21-week EMA. So then that means we opened this week above it, and we had a wick fairly close to the 20-week SMA. Now the 20-week SMA rounded up is 43.8K. Okay, 43.8K. And we just had a local top at around 43,390 according to this exchange. Now, the battle that's ensuing can be somewhat hidden. If you go look at the US dollar currency index, that is the battle going on, and it might not be intuitive for everyone to realize that, okay? Why is it? Well, remember back in May, I said, expect a 3 to 6 month lull in the market, right? Expect because we're ahead of schedule, but expect a lull in the market because we need to calm down for a while. What happened in May? Well, first of all, we dropped below the 20-week, but look at this. We dropped below the 20-week on May 10th. If you go look at the dollar started finally having this local bottom around May 10th. So when the dollar's going up, it's not good for Bitcoin. Okay, it was not good for it here. It was not good for it in 2018. It was not good for it in 2014. When the dollar goes up, it's generally not good for Bitcoin. The reason why this is a key battle is because the dollar has moved up, but it's starting to slow down a little, okay? You can see that like in late March, it's starting to slow down right around that same area. So for Bitcoin, in my opinion, for Bitcoin to have a sustained move to the upside and then go on a crazy rally, etc., you do not want to see the dollar put in a new high. You do not want to see the dollar break out, right? You do not want to see this if you want to see Bitcoin go up, okay? So what you should do, you should go over and add DXY to your watch list and keep an eye on it. If you see it rallying this way, it's going to make it exceedingly difficult for Bitcoin to rally. If the dollar is coming back down, then it makes it really good for Bitcoin. Now, if the dollar does get rejected, okay, let's dubiously speculate, which we like to do on this channel. If the dollar comes back down, then the next question, is it going to hold this level? Okay, is it going to hold that level? Because Bitcoin has not really put in, any crazy new all-time highs in several months, right? And we'd have to go all the way back to April. So then we look at this and we say, well, what happens if it goes below? This is a zoomed in version of the dollar chart. What if we zoom out? What if we zoom out? This is the dollar, going back all the way to the 1980s. And what you'll see is, there have been key momentum shifts in the market, right? Here it went down, here it went back up. Here it went down, here it went back up. The question now is, are we on a longer trend down, or are we going to kick the can down the road a few months? Okay, now we must think about something here. A lot of us are used to looking at shorter time frame charts. We look at weekly candles and monthly candles, but that doesn't necessarily prepare you for this chart. Because again, this chart goes back to the 1980s. A lot of you probably weren't even born in the 1980s. I wasn't around until the 90s. So you have to remember that this chart goes back a long time. So a little squiggle here, while it might not seem like anything, it's a huge deal for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin were to go put in new all-time highs and let's say push 100 to 200K within the next 1 to 2 years, what does that mean? Well, it means the dollar's probably not holding up so well. And if the dollar's not holding up so well, then maybe it's falling below this local low, okay? And if it does, it's almost like clear skies, or the reverse of that down below. Because up here, we were in the 130s for the dollar, down here to the 80s, back up to the 120s, back down to the 70s, back up to the 100s. And then the question is, are we heading back down to these lower levels by the end of the decade, right? Is that going to happen? And if so, it likely means that crypto and stocks will continue to do well. Bitcoin does really well when the DXY is going down. Stocks also do well when DXY is going down. Now, it might not necessarily be cause and effect that way. A lot of times when people get spooked by say like what's going on in the market, they might sell everything to US dollars, and then the dollar ends up going up because people are flocking to the relative safety of the dollar. So it's probably people selling out of stocks because they're spooked and then going to the dollar. But regardless, when people sell from say like a higher risk to a lower risk, even though a lot of us here would probably say that the dollar is not necessarily lower risk, but that's what traditional investors might think, is if that's the case, then what you want to see is the dollar fall through these levels, because if it does, that could be what Bitcoin needs to get back to these, back to the all-time highs and push ultimately to $100,000 and hopefully beyond, right? Hopefully beyond 100K. I would like to see it go a little bit over 100K, maybe 120, 140, depending on how much momentum we have. I could see it going up to 200, but I have a hard time imagining it going much beyond that. So I would always say, 100 to 200K is generally, I think, a pretty good range for this cycle, in the event that, as we've speculated, that the cycle will ultimately lengthen and take us a lot longer to get to those valuations. So what you want to do is you want to go look at the dollar. You want to keep an eye on this level. Is it going to put in a new high? And if it is it going to trend back up? You'll note that it also bounced off the 50-week, okay? So it got rejected by the 50-week in April. It came down, okay? It came down in April and May, and that was when the crypto market was sort of having another mania season, alt season and whatnot. But then it came back up, and now it's above the 50-week, and right now it's holding it as support. So I think that we have a battle on our hands. It's between the dollar trying to show some strength versus Bitcoin trying to get above the 20-week SMA. And we have talked about this battle coming for a long time. So this is what it is, right? This is what it is. We got to see if we can get above it. If we can, we got to see if we can hold it as support, and then we're off to the races. If not, we kick the can down the road. And if it comes back down, my guess is that at least the dollar is holding up. It doesn't necessarily mean it's putting in new highs, but it's probably not going down if Bitcoin is going back down to test some of these lower levels. The main reason, you can come up with all sorts of reasons to be bullish or to be bearish. I mean, of course, I'm bullish on Bitcoin long term, and I think even this cycle, we still have a long way to go. The main caution that people should take before betting the family farm, they should really never bet the family farm. We've seen bounces off the 50-week before, and this last one over here was about a 50% move, and we're looking at essentially the same thing right now. I mean, if you go from the bottom of the wick, it's a 50% move. That's the reason to be cautious. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bearish thing. I'm just saying this is a fact on the chart, right? It's just a fact on the chart. A 50% move off the 50-week, go back to the bull market support band. Now the question is, can we get above it? And that, my friends, is where the real battle lies. If you guys like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Let's go for 500,000 subscribers. We also do have the sale on the premium list. You can find a link to that in the description below. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, click the bell icon to turn on your notifications, and I will see you next time. Bye.